If we look back on the greatest mistakes we made within our marriages, it's because we not only stood being in awe, being surprised, being angry, not having the answer, but then we went forward and said, well, I'm going to find my own answer, or I'm going to find my own gratitude in this storm. And that doesn't make sense. When you see a tornado, you don't go in the midst of it and expect something great to come out, right? It'll rip you apart. The force is too great. When you're dealing with something that is unexplainable, don't go in the midst of it and make things worse. It's time for you to step back, stand still, and hold your peace. And the only way that you could do this is by trusting in God. It says here in verse 5, offer the sacrifice of righteousness and put your trust in the Lord. So although you're not receiving the good that you place within your marriage, that doesn't mean that your work is in vain. But rather, God says that continue to work in righteousness. There's a word in Peter that says, don't render evil for evil and railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing. We have to apply that in the midst of your storm. Does this mean that your righteousness will cause your spouse not to make mistakes? Absolutely not. But what it does guarantee is that you won't make mistakes as your spouse is learning to find themselves. So by you being that strong anchor, by you being that peaceful person, by you having that cheerful disposition, that gives the opportunity for your spouse to work on themselves. And that's what makes the difference within any relationship. But as we consider seasons, let's consider this. After the winter, there's spring. Start sowing your seeds. Expect the harvest because it's coming. Don't wait for spring to come for you to realize that you should have gotten out of your distress. You should have gotten out of your depression to sow those seeds because this was the harvest that you were looking for. Don't be fooled in the world system. I know a lot of Christians love reality shows, and we like to think that we know the difference between something that's real from something that isn't. But your flesh doesn't. That's why you become enticed. It's not just because it's entertaining, it's because it's relatable. So you need to wake up. Turn off the entertainment. Read the Word of God. There's life in it. You can't find yourself by continuing to cover yourself with entertainment, covering yourself with music. You have to discover yourself even in the darkest hour. That is the opportune time to discover yourself. God will replace those sorrows with gladness. God will replace those fears with peace. We know that. Why haven't you gotten up from your situation of depression, of fear, of doubt? If you know that. If you know that God's a gracious God, why do we use that to continue in sin? That grace may abound. Why don't we use that to propel ourselves forward out of the problems, out of the snares of life? You say, you know what? This is just not my season, but I'm going to continue to work. What am I going to work on? Work on what God has given you control over. And you will see that although it's not time for your blessing, you'll start to see the harvest happening in the lives that you touch, in the environment that you tended to, through the Word of God. God bless.